in the history of football. Barry Switzer, Pete Carroll, and Jimmy Johnson that won a Super Bowl and won a national championship. And Barry is joining us. So, Barry, you were at Oklahoma. When I was a kid, you were there forever, it seems, 16 years. Bob Stoops has been there for 18. Now, coaches, Barry, jump around now. They didn't used to. A guy stayed there forever. Could I make the argument, though, Barry, that after 18 years, Urban Meyer moves around, it kind of re-energizes him? What if Bob took an LSU job? What if Saban retired and Bob took an Alabama job? Do you think it could re-energize him a little? Has he gotten a little complacent?
Not, well, why would you leave a job? You mentioned the top 5 jobs, one of the top 5 jobs in the country. They all fall in that category. They're all make $5-6 million. They're paid more than probably the pro coaches make. Most of pro coaches make, and more people would want the job that you just left for than what they just took. You know what I mean? More people would want the job they just left. And I've always told Bob that with pro ball, I guarantee you more people would rather have the Oklahoma job than the damn pro job. So, in pro ball, you can get your butt beat every other week. But Oklahoma and Alabama, places like that, LSU, I don't think LSU has ever reached its potential that it can in winning. Yeah. I think they're great athletes and that belt down through there. And LSU's always had great talent. I mean, and State produces great talent. But, anyway, they're not going to leave. They got it too good here, and it doesn't make sense for Urban was looking for something like that, and he got it, and you'll stay there, and you can win consistently. And that's one good thing about it. You talked about Jimmy and Pete Carroll and I winning championships in the Pro Bowl. A Super Bowl. Well, I'm going to tell you the reason we won the college is because we had a great product to sell. I was at Oklahoma. Jimmy was at Miami. When Miami was great, he should have won 3 national championships. And Pete was at Southern Cal. Southern Cal is one of the great programs you can recruit to. So we had something in common. We had something to sell. We had a great program to sell.
Barry, but what did you like about the NFL? Because Urban Meyer maybe offered a job. Was there something about coaching NFL you did prefer over college?
Well, believe it or not, it's easier. It's easier because all you do is coach. In college, you got them 5 or 6 years. You got them 365. You got 24/7. You're held responsible for their actions and behavior. Don't you read the damn media, Colin? Colin, am I not right? Yeah. You're held in pro ball. The head coaches aren't held accountable for the action and behavior of a guy that's 1 year older than most college kids. It's a different deal. And you only got 53 of them versus 100 and something, and it's a totally different deal. We got academics. We got everything. Yeah. It's eligibility. It's totally a different deal. Yeah. But Barry. Anyway, it's easier in that aspect. It's football. You got same. It's more sophisticated. You got more time with them. That's why you can teach them more.
In college, Barry, you could recruit 2 quarterbacks a year. Nick can coach a guy, get another. In the NFL, teams only carry 2 quarterbacks. So here's Dallas with Tony Romo, who's terrific, and he's beat up, and here comes Dak. If you were a coach, Brady and Garoppolo, and you got a guy backing up, Barry, and you think he's pretty darn good, and he's 26 and he's cheaper with a salary cap, would you struggle with the Romo-Dak thing? What do you do as a coach?
I got to live in their house before you evaluate. So you're telling me something I don't really know any about these guys. I haven't studied these guys. You know what I mean? I don't know what mental picture they would give me and how I would rate them after I spent some time. You got to spend some time in their house and look at them, study. Yeah. So it's really difficult for me to answer that. Yeah. You mentioned all these guys have won some games. They're not elite by any means, you know what I mean, other than Brady you mentioned, but of all those quarterbacks. But it takes a quarterback. You don't get the Super Bowl unless you got a quarterback. There's no question about it. There's only about 6 teams that can get to the damn Super Bowl, and they're the ones that got the quarterbacks. Yeah. So Ohio State faces Oklahoma, and is that who they play this week?
Yes, that is who they play.
I might watch that.
Now, when I was a kid growing up, Oklahoma-Nebraska felt like the biggest game in the world. Now, Oklahoma-Texas. If you go in, do you think it's an advantage that Oklahoma lost a game, Ohio State's undefeated? like as a coach.
Hell no, it's not an advantage. What the hell are you talking about? You want to win them all. That's not an advantage to lose a football game. You know, Oklahoma, they lost to a good Houston team. Houston was 13-1 last year. They killed Florida State in the Peach Bowl. And we all know Florida State recruits good talent. Houston's always been good. You know, they've won their league. Every coach has been there has elevated themselves. Every coach has been there for the last 7-8 years has won at Houston. They got great players at Houston, but they're not in a league that gives them an opportunity to ever be in the playoffs, and they got to get in one of the power leagues to be able to get there. Hopefully, we don't let them in the Big 12. The Houston, which is Harris County. Harris County produces more players than any other county in the United States. And if you could get the top 30 out of there every year, you'd win national championship every other year like Alabama does.
Yeah.
I promise you they're that good in that Houston area.
You have such great, I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask, but you have great energy, and you've done business, and I had Jerry Jones on yesterday. He had me rolling. He's 73, and he's young. He feels young, and he's funny, and he just made me laugh yesterday on the show. Like there's reportedly, like you and Jerry, I guess, were good friends. Do you maintain any relationship now?
Sure I do. Jerry's a good friend. I usually go. I was supposed to go last weekend at the Giants ball game. Something came up, and I couldn't make it. And I was going to. Jerry's box was full. I waited the last second to call Marilyn, the secretary, but I was going to sit with Boone Pickens. I was going to sit in Boone's box next door to him, and I would have seen him and had a chance to visit with him. But I've known Jerry since he was a 17-year-old freshman in college. And,
wow.
March 28th, 1994, he called me and said, "You want to coach the Cowboys?" And I said, "Hell, I didn't know the job was open, Jerry." He said, "Well, it's fixing to be." And I said, "Well, call me when it's open." So he called me the next day. He fired Jimmy, and he called me the next day. He said, "Come on down." That was my interview. That was exactly it. That's all was said. Yeah, so I went down, and we negotiated our contract, and I signed and spent 4 years with him, won the Super Bowl, and left. I said, when I got here, you told me that there were 500 coaches that could win a Super Bowl with this team. Well, I did it, and there was 499 out there left. But anyway, we've had fun. Jerry's a great guy, and he gets beat up on all the time by the media. But and I'm older than him too. But I think maybe in my opinion, I look better than he does. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta ask one more question. You just said you knew Jerry Jones at 17 years old.
You bet.
Okay.
From Rose City, Arkansas.
Okay.
I was coaching at the University of Arkansas for Frank Broyles when we recruited him.
Can I just ask, did you kind of know there was something special about him?
Yes, sir. I sure did. When he was a sophomore, he married Miss Arkansas, Jean, and she's Chambers from Danville, Arkansas. And Jerry would work on the weekends. When the rest of the guys out were at the clubs drinking beer and partying and dancing, Jerry Jones wasn't there. He was up in Missouri. The population of towns he was in would be about 4,000 or 5,000 people. He was selling $10,000 whole life insurance policies. I knew that kid was wired differently then. I mean, he was a businessman from the beginning. Jerry damn near bought the Chargers when he was 23 years old, and his daddy talked him out of it. He could have bought them for $2 million. This was the AFL days. The next year, they merged with the NFL, and it became one league. Became the one league, and that franchise fee went to $12 million instead of $2 million he would have paid for it the year before. Jerry's been lucky all his life. He didn't make that move, but he should have made that. Should have. Wow. But anyway, I know Jerry. I know a lot about him.
Wow. Well, you've done pretty well, too. I love your stories. God, someday if you're in L.A., can we just buy you a beer and you could just tell stories for 2 hours? Jesus.
I got a bunch of them, and I tell you what, they're true. I don't make them up. It's happened. Yeah.